It's been, not quite exactly 2 years since the CZU fire broke out in the Santa Cruz Mountains due to a massive lightning storm. It quickly turned into a major conflagration, taking in what would be 80,000 acres and razing 900 structures, including many homes. One life was lost, people were displaced, massive evacuations took place, and people are still recovering from that event. Many of my neighbors in Bonnie Doon are still waiting for permits to rebuild, whereas others have moved almost to the point where they can move into their new houses. That's how different the experiences are. One of the things that marked that event was a lot of people stayed behind and fought those fires. Here to talk about a new film that's expressing a lot of the stories that happened is Peter Gelblum. He is the filmmaker of a new one called In Their Own Words, the CZU Fires. Hi.
Hi, Rachel. Nice to see you.
And Peter, I will say thank you again, because you were here at the very beginning of K-Squid when we painted this very room. You might remember that.
But I don't think this was the color. I think it was white. Maybe that was the base coat.
Yeah.
Maybe this was it. But I do remember painting this very room.
Yeah, it looks good. Thanks to Sandy Stone and her amazing color sensibility. We love this place and how it looks. So thanks for chipping in that way. You do a lot for the community. You are actually part of another community organization that is doing wonderful things, Mountain Community Theater up in Ben Lomond. You've been part of that for a long time.
Yeah, since I moved here from Los Angeles, of all places, in 2008 and got involved with the theater almost right away.
Were you a filmmaker down there?
No, I was a lawyer. And I was a lawyer when I moved here. I was working out of my home, continuing working for my firm. But way back when, I came to L.A. to be an actor. I was an actor in New York for a couple of years, and then came out with the show to Los Angeles with a play and did it in San Francisco, did it in L.A., and directed it in Philadelphia at the Annenberg Center. Came back to L.A., got a role as the killer on a Kojak episode.
Oh, yeah, I got to watch that now.
And that was it.
That was the end of that.
That was the end of my professional acting career, yeah. And I really didn't do any acting at all for 30 plus years. Then we moved up here and just by chance happened to live a block away from Mountain Community Theater, from Park Hall in Ben Lomond. Totally by chance. If I had lived in a different house, I might not have gotten involved.
Lucky you.
Yeah,
lucky them,
well,
too.
It's been great. It's been really wonderful. And that is not a different thing. MCT produced this film.
Right. I was going to mention that. And also, during the pandemic, they produced a bunch of radio plays, and we ran a couple of them, and they were really fun. And you guys kept moving, and you kept doing, even though you couldn't do in
No live
person.
shows for 2 years, two whole years. Amazing. And we did a lot of Zoom stuff, small video things.
But you just did one, Cuckoo's Nest, right?
We did two. Cuckoo's Nest. We reopened with our 2022 season, Cuckoo's Nest, and then Calendar Girls. And then coming up, like in just a few weeks, is something else I'm directing. It's our New Works Weekend, which is a reading of a new play by a local playwright. And it's going to be really fun. It's called Eradicated. It's really wild and haunting and bizarre.
And who's the playwright?
Is Drea Cato, who is a recent graduate of Cabrillo.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, recent Cabrillo alumni. And she's I met her when I did a show there, Judgment at Nuremberg, that Sarah Albertson directed, and I was the chief judge, and she was, I think, a stenographer or something in the courtroom. But I kept up with her, and then found out she started writing plays, and I asked her to send me one, and she's really good. She's really, really good. And she's young. She's, I think, in her early 30s, maybe.
Well, one to watch, for sure. It's great. I think community theater is wonderful as the same way community radio is wonderful. It brings out all these people who, have incredible talent, but they might not be running at it in the same way, that people on Broadway are running at it. But it also enables you to take risks and try things, which you couldn't try if you were in traditional theater.
If you needed to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Nice.
And it's a beautiful hall you have up there, too.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it. I've seen you there.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah. I love that space. So to this project, were you personally affected by the fires?
We evacuated. We live on West Park Avenue in Boulder Creek, which is... we live about a block and a half from downtown Boulder Creek, and when you see the film, there's a lot of talk about West Park because one of the guys who fought the fires, Brian Garahan, had a house on West Park, and he stayed behind, and he saved a lot of homes. He went out by himself, and then with a bunch of buddies that he gathered, the Boulder Creek boys, cutting fire lines behind houses, which worked at that point because the fire was just creeping along the ground, and a foot and a half of dirt stopped the fire. It was amazing. But he did that for 4 or 5 days before CAL FIRE got their people here. If you remember, they were not here for a long time because, I don't blame them for that.
There were
fires all over the state.
Yeah, if you saw the lightning map, you'd see what they were up against. It was really every person for themselves. So when the locals started doing what you just described, they did that in Bonnie Doon too. There were a lot of retired firefighters that just got a crew together of volunteers and went out and did that exact thing.
And these were not even retired firefighters. These were just people.
Well, these were too, but like the person leading them.
Oh, really? There
was
somebody who knew
had
what they were doing.
Yeah,
that's great.
And just showed them what to do, and then they went on.
Yeah, I've seen the film that somebody did about Bonnie Doon.
Franz Lanting did. Yeah.
And it's wonderful, and that's exactly what happened here. And he's just, he's one part of the film. We also have the Boulder Creek fire chief as a prominent part of the film too.
Right. So this concept of what you did with this film reminds me of Twilight Los Angeles after the riots. So was that an inspiration for you?
Absolutely. This was originally the reason I have actors doing it instead of a documentary where I've got the actual people on camera is the original plan was to do it as a theater piece, as verbatim theater. That's the genre. Twilight Los Angeles I actually saw the original production by Anna Devere Smith, where she played all 37 characters in LA, which is extraordinary. And then the other one that a lot of people know is the Laramie Project, about the murder of Matthew Shepard in Wyoming. Where you interview people, and then you transcribe the interviews and you turn that into a script. You don't take just their words, but every word in the script was said by somebody interviewed. There's nothing written by me or anybody else. And I've watched it a lot of times now, and it still amazes me, some of the things people said. Just, it wasn't a prepared speech, just in response to a question from me. And they came out with just some gorgeous language. And
so you interviewed them first, and then you turned it into a script.
Yeah, I interviewed them in the spring of 2021 with the idea that it was going to be part of our 2022 season.
And that was on camera as well as audio?
It was on cell phone or Zoom.
Oh, right, of course.
Because I had no intention of using the footage. I just wanted to use the words.
Right.
And I bought a transcribing software and put it in, and it transcribes it, and then I worked for about 6 months creating the script out of it.
Wow, what a process that must have been.
It was
to see,
interesting.
The words go from spoken word to written word back out to spoken word. And the people who were acting didn't get to see or any of the footage or hear the original.
They did. If they wanted to, some didn't want to, which happens with any play that's about real people too. Some people want to see the real people, some don't. I'd say about half the actors wanted to see the recording that I had, and half didn't. You wouldn't be able to tell by watching, who did and who didn't. And the actors, except for one person, were all people that I knew that I had pretty much worked with at MCT or Actors Theater or somewhere else. The one I had to go outside was the person who played Jenny Wu, who owns the Red Pearl restaurant, Chinese restaurant in Boulder Creek, which is a wonderful restaurant, and she's an amazing, amazing part of the community. And she lost her home, and I couldn't find a middle-aged Chinese actor in Santa Cruz County. I looked, I talked to, I was willing to go with any kind of woman. I talked to some Korean professors at UCSC. Nobody wanted to do it or could do it. And so I finally put out a call to some theaters on the peninsula where there's a lot more Chinese people than there are here. And the first person who responded was this amazing actor named Grace Wang, who played Jenny. She came down and met her. She speaks Mandarin, and she and Jenny talked. And I brought them together, and I just left.
Nice.
They were yakking away in Mandarin, and I couldn't understand anything they were saying. But otherwise, it was all local people, local actors. People who have been to MCT will recognize pretty much everybody, probably.
There's a lot of emotion. I've been listening to the news about the fires in Yosemite and hearing people be interviewed, and There's a lot of emotion right as it's happening, right after it happens. You hear people cry from all the losses that haven't really tallied. They're just raw emotion. How did you get the actors to channel that feeling?
Well, first of all, one of the reasons I'm glad I used actors is that when I interviewed the people, it was, 9 months after the fire, and most of them were pretty unemotional about it. And the format was, I asked specific questions, and they gave me specific answers, and they were pretty straightforward. I wanted, and I wanted to honor that, but also wanted, the audience to enjoy it. So I wanted it to be a little more emotional, a little more of that. And first of all, it wasn't that hard because these are actors. And that's what they do.
Right, of course.
That's what they do. And but here it was even easier because most of them live in the valley, and most of them, none of the actors lost their homes, but most of them evacuated and were, knew exactly what these people were going through, except for the loss of their homes, which of course was the biggest issue. But it was not hard for them to get in touch with what those emotions were like.
I actually wrote a song about the only person who died in that fire, Tad Jones. And,
I think I heard it. Somebody sent it to me. It might have been you.
Maybe it was, but I thought that the saddest and most ironic part of that is he was the person who had the absolute least material possessions to lose. Everyone was crying over their house or their stuff, and he had nothing. He was like a total hermit, lived in a very tiny cabin up there at Last Chance, and, he lost his life. The only thing, that you really need not to lose.
Was there any connection, you think, between his lack of material possessions and that whatever philosophy that came from, and the fact that he lost his life?
I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know. I've heard varying stories about what happened. About how he, went out the back way, which wasn't the right way to go. Yeah. He thought it was because he walked everywhere.
Right.
But I've heard other stories that were different. So I don't think we can ever know what's in someone's head. But
yeah, and
a lot of people knew him, and there was a beautiful profile of him. I think it was in the New York Times.
I think I read that.
Yeah.
I did read that. Yeah. There's, talking about songs, nobody listens to it because it's over the closing credits, but there's this wonderful song by a wonderful singer-songwriter named Rita Hoskins.
I know her very well.
Do you know her?
Yeah,
well, she does
it's a song about their kitchen table is all.
No, it's a song about the campfire, actually, and about a couple people who went in and rescued people. Oh. And
she does a lot of documentary songwriting too, which I love.
What happened was we were at the Strawberry Music Festival, my wife and I, and we sat down for the afternoon set, and I had never heard of her, but other people said, "Oh, you got to see her. She's really good." And she started talking. I think it was the opening song of the set, and she started talking about this fire, and she's playing this song. And I'm like, "Whoa, that'd be perfect." So as we're sitting there in the audience in the sun, listening to her sing, I'm sending an email to her asking if I could use that song. And it took a while for her to respond, but she did, and she said sure.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a wonderful song.
A real treasure. And she has another song she wrote about her family home burning.
Oh, really?
And how they saved the kitchen table.
Yeah. Oh, she's really good.
She's good. Yeah. So I'm speaking with Peter Gelblum, and he is the filmmaker behind a new film called The CZU Fires, in their own words, and it's premiering in the area, I believe, pretty soon.
Well, actually, we've had two. No, we've already had two screenings. We had one in Boulder Creek at the Rec Hall and one at the Zianti Fire Station.
Oh, perfect place for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, if I may, Monday at 7:30 at the Cinelux in Scotts Valley, a real movie theater.
I'm going to go to that one.
Cool. And then August 5th at the Felix Culpa Gallery outside. It's our one outside showing at 9 o'clock. It's in connection with they're doing a show. They're reopening after 2 years, and their show is artists affected by the CZU fire. So this was perfect. And then August 7th, our matinee at Park Hall in Ben Lomond, where MCT lives. And then August 16th, the second anniversary of the lightning strike, is at the Del Mar.
Wow.
So
perfect.
And I'm trying to get one set up in Bonnie Doon.
I was going to say that would be.
I've been trying for months, and finally I've gotten in touch with the board of the fire district, And it'll either be at the Martin Road station or at the elementary school.
Great. Please keep me informed, and we'll share that with our audience. I wanted to play the trailer from this, if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
And of course, people won't be able to see what is on the screen, but they'll hopefully be able to hear it. This is Peter Gelblum's new film, and he just gave you several opportunities to go see it. So here's the trailer.
Somewhere around the wee hours of the 16th, the storm was coming through San Lorenzo Valley pretty hard. I'll never forget it.
We got woken up from the lightning storm. That was Saturday night, early Sunday morning.
It was blowing like crazy and just flashes all over the place.
I could hear it coming out of the canyon. Like a big turbine engine. I could feel the air just sucking into the canyon. It was intense.
The only thing that gave me the calm and clarity to create a plan and work the fire was that we were going to hold town no matter what. We had a primary plan, we had a backup plan, we had a contingency plan, and we had an emergency plan. It was a fight.
COVID went from the dominant problem to like very secondary at that point.
The smoke was thick and it was getting hot and everyone was just getting antsy.
I didn't think it would be so serious and to burn my house.
It was terrifying waiting to find out what happened to our house.
I feel blessed to be with this community. Yeah, it's blessed.
That's the trailer for the CZU fire, in their own words, fighting fires, losing homes, and rebuilding community. And the community is still rebuilding, I will tell you that.
Yeah,
it's
I
taking
heard
so long.
At your intro, I think extraordinary, less than 10% of the people who lost their homes have been able to start rebuilding. And it was 911 homes, not just structures.
Right,
it was I think 1,500 structures, but 900 homes.
They should have
and
cut more red tape,
A bunch of people have left. A bunch of people have moved away.
People just gave up. They just went,
right.
Okay,
And there's several
do
people talk about that in the film, about insurance. There's a lot of people that talk about anger at insurance companies. And, because this was only 9 months after the fire, people weren't fed up with the county yet. So there's just one person who talks about that. If I'd interview people now, a lot of people would be talking about problems with the county and permits.
Hello, supervisor candidates for the 3rd District. Are you listening to this program? This is one way you could make a lot of headway, is actually cut some red tape for these people.
Absolutely. It's
ridiculous.
It's horrible. It's just horrible.
Some people are still waiting on their geology report. Hello,
Wow.
2 years later, not okay.
Yeah, not okay. And there were all sorts of promises made. We're going to be different than other places. We're going to streamline this, make this good.
Heard, yeah.
And I haven't had direct experience, but from what I've heard, it's really been awful for almost everybody.
Yeah, you have people who had a house that was there for 40 years on the same site doing just fine, thank you, and they have to prove that it's geologically safe.
Right.
It's like, come on.
Right.
So there's that.
I wanted to give props for the trailer to Eric Gandolfi. Eric was the editor. He and his work partner, Andrew Crocker, did the filming. And then Eric, just on his own, I didn't ask him to do it. He created the trailer just one day. We paid him everything, our contract, and he says, I just love this project now, so I want to do this for you. And he's done that. He's done a whole bunch of extra work. He's done a great job.
And do you think you will show it outside of this region that was impacted by the fires?
A lot of people have asked about, can they get it online? Can they get it without coming to a screening? Either because they can't make it because of schedule, or they don't want to go inside because of COVID.
But there's an outdoor showing.
There's one, but the courtyard at the gallery that maybe holds 50 people, but probably more like 30 or 35 people. Yeah. So I'm actually trying not to publicize that too much. but we're going to make it available online at some point and request donations, just like we do at the screenings are all free, 100% free, with a suggested donation of $10. And MCT isn't even recovering its costs on this. We're just donating. All the money goes to the local fire departments and the Community Foundation's Fire Recovery Fund, which helps individuals who lost their homes and other things in the fire. So it's our gift. That's very sweet of you to do that, and I hope that money ends up like really going where it's needed. Oh, it will. I've got the money. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm collecting the money, and I've got the money, so it's going. No, I wasn't questioning you. I was just thinking about what are the needs, and some people really need a house, and that's a hard thing too. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to try to figure out who's more deserving or not, so that's why I chose the Community Foundation. They, I think, do a really good job of that, and they're supporting a lot of individuals as well as like there's the Boulder Creek Rec Department, which is our government up there essentially, has a community tool shed they started after the fire where they let people borrow tools for free if they need them to work on fire-related stuff, completely for free. That's great, and especially chainsaws, because I'll tell you, as a mountain resident, having suffered my forest burning, that those trees are still coming down in the middle of the night sometimes. Right, and the Fire Recovery Fund helps support the tool shed. So that's great. I think that's the right place to go. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for doing that. I mean, I'm sure the people who will benefit will be really grateful that you put this labor of love into this film. I can't wait to see it. I think the photographs are stunning. Where did you look for these images? Well, oh boy, I got lucky. I asked Shmuel Thaler, who said yes immediately. Good for him, Shmoo, our buddy. I think I asked him because, I know who he is, but also because he had done this project at Ma about possessions people had lost in a photo thing. And then SLV Steve Kuehl, who documents everything in the valley, in the San Lorenzo Valley, and he immediately said yes too. And then other people, I saw things online and tracked down who the photographer was and asked them. And then the last one, who I ended up using a lot of her photos, is a woman named Cara Capaldo, who Mark Bingham, the Boulder Creek fire chief, told me about. He said that she had gone out with them and taken some pictures. And I contacted her, and she said, as long as you're not making money off it, absolutely, Nice. So, yeah, people were incredibly generous. Rita Hoskins is letting us use it for free, too. Nobody got paid in connection with this film. None of the actors? No, that's true. The filmmakers got paid. When none of the actors did? The only one was this woman, Grace, who had to come down. Who had to come, right. I was desperate, I had to offer a stipend, but none of the other actors got paid a penny. Yeah. Well, you're doing a service, too, by preserving memories, because I think that there's a part of the human psyche that wants to block, all memories of trauma. And as a community, when we tell our collective story, we can heal better, I think, by recognizing each other's pain and being able to express it and sympathize and empathize with each other's experience. And everyone went through it slightly differently. And there was a very strong need to tell what happened. I went down to the fairgrounds right after everyone was evacuated, and there was a very strong need to tell the story of the day before, just to talk. And this fills one little piece of that need, and for kind of our collective healing. Yeah, you see a lot of at the screenings in the valley where people were directly impacted. You see a lot of nodding. When people are saying, because other than the two firefighters, everybody else is somebody who lost their home. Yeah. Everybody. And even one of the firefighters, his father lost his home. And so people get it. They understand. There's a lot of tears at the screenings, even some laughter, which I wanted to put some in. Right. It's going to be hard just to go cry at a film. So I'm glad that you thought about that too. Yeah. And I really did want to, you said I wanted to make some kind of document of the event, of the time, of the extraordinary time, that could be preserved and people could look at, years from now. One of the amazing things, and it's actually in the trailer, is one of the characters says, COVID suddenly became a very secondary issue. It was, in August 20, it was dominating our lives. People weren't going anywhere. We were locked down. It was horrible. And the fire happened, and COVID, what's COVID? Right?
Yeah.
We got to get out of here.
Yeah, and K-Squid jumped right in there. We were out there at the fairgrounds and at the Civic talking to people and giving people information about emergency services, and it kind of dominated. We just jumped into our role, and that's what we were made for, you know. And then, then the election, it went on from there, but it just seemed like that was what we are here to do as a station, to collectively go through this as a community instead of having people have to suffer alone. And we're still doing that, I hope, by talking about this film and having people's stories featured on places like First Person Singular, which is coming up in just a second now. Good segue, huh? I could talk about this a lot longer, and I wish you all the best with this film. I hope a lot of people see it. I thank you again for coming in and talking about it.
My pleasure, and I think more people will see it because you've had me on, so I appreciate that very much.
That's what we're here for. Absolutely. Great. My pleasure. Thank you, Peter Gelblum, the director and maker of this new film, The CZU Fire. In their own words, fighting fires, losing homes, and rebuilding community. And real quick, how do they find the information about the premieres that they can still go to?
Go to the MCT website, mctshows.org, and they're all listed there.
Perfect. Thank you so much.